So to get started today, once again, thank you for joining us. You've joined InSource for a presentation from NDT Software about automation change management. And our presenters today are Alex Landis and Gary Gillespie of NDT. At this point, I'd like to hand it over to Alex.
All right, very good. Thank you, Katie. I'd like to start off by just thanking everybody for sitting with us here for about an hour. We're going to be focusing on, as Katie mentioned, automation change management from NDT. And my name is Alex Landis. I am the Regional Sales Manager for NDT. And on the line with us as well is Gary Gillespie. And Gary will be going through the demonstration at the second half of the presentation. So without further ado, let's begin. So we're going to start by talking a little bit about who we are as a company, what we do, and get into the software solution as it is, and focus a little bit on the utility space in the water. So what we do is we protect intellectual property in your automation layer. And this is across your entire enterprise, helping you to avoid risk, recovering quickly from hardware failures, mistakes, sabotage, giving you a comprehensive view into what the historical versioning is going on within your environment. And the key takeaway from today is that no one else has the type of range of device application support that we have in the market. And I'll touch on that a little bit further as we go. But NDT has been around for almost 30 years now. We are the inventors of the change management space, and we've got end users all over the world in all different vertical markets. We started very heavily focused in the automotive space, but over the course of the last 10, 15 years, we've advanced into pharma, food and beverage, water, wastewater, metals mining, and we've got a very extensive list of customers in all those different manufacturing spaces. And one way that's allowed us to do this is we've got more partnerships with automation manufacturers in the space that has allowed us to stay close to the technology and continue to advance our solution to provide the best solution for the end user. And again, we have the broadest range of editor and device support in the industry. Screenshot of some of our customers, and since we're focused today on talking a little bit about the water wastewater industry, we've got a lot of water customers up here on the screen. But as you can see, we also work with some of the largest manufacturing companies around the world in automotive, and we've got pharma and food and beverage, and anywhere there's automation, there's a need to keep track of versioning and the history there, and we've got a very extensive customer base that speaks to that. So we'll kind of jump into the architecture and the different components that NDT has to it. So here we've got the business network and the process network, and you've got them separated by a firewall. And we have the first component of the system is an autosave server. So the autosave server acts as a central repository for the entire system. We have IIS on there for web reporting. We use SQL as our back-end database. And then the way that we store the files is in zip files in a data directory. So you can store these off in somewhere else, and you can have a SQL farm. But the autosave server is really the brains of the whole system and is the backbone to the repository. You have SMTP for the email notifications. And then we move on to the client. Clients are unlimited, so you can have as many clients as you need. And these go on any user's workstation or laptop. So anywhere the actual programming changes are going to be made from, wherever the programming software resides is where you're going to have an NDT client. And that will be the user interface into the programming software. And then the third component are the autosave agents. Agents are really a dedicated PC that has the programming software on it and performs a scheduled operation. So this is for the PLCs that are on a network that it can communicate to, and you can pull a program and generate a comparison report. And really the agents are the safety net of our system. So if changes happen outside of NDT that we're not necessarily aware of when they happen, we capture those changes with the autosave agent. And I'll go through that in a little bit more detail in a minute. So those are the three main components that we add to the environment to help fit in with the change process and help you to better manage your program changes that are going on at the plant level. We've got port requirements for the firewall. So what we're going to walk through now is the typical workflow of the system and how everything moves within the environment. So you've got the plant engineer who's going to log into his laptop. So he's going to have a username and password. We can verify against Active Directory. The idea here is that there's credentials now to access the programs within the system. So once he logs in, he's going to be put into the programming interface here for autosave. So this is the autosave software. On the left-hand side, you've got a folder structure, which is going to be configured based on your plant layout. So all the programs that you're managing within autosave are going to be loaded into this left-hand side here, and you drill down to the program that you want to make a change to. So once you select the program, on the right-hand side here, you have now a revision history with date and time stamps, user information, client information on where the change came from, and comments that are associated to each change. So you have really a historical reference of all the changes and all the iterations of this program within a window here that you can easily access and easily view. And if you wanted to make comparisons within this revision list here, you can compare any two versions at any time. So in this case, this user is going to want to launch a program, so he's going to click the launch pad here. And what's going to happen is the autosave server is going to send down a local copy to his user laptop and put him into the programming software. So in this example here, we've got a Unity Pro, but this could be an RSLogix 5000, or we could launch Window Maker for InTouch. Whatever programming software we're communicating with will be launched for the user. So now he can go in, he can make his changes, and when he saves and exits, autosave is going to prompt him for a revision comment. So he puts in here a little blurb of what he did. Hits OK. That's going to send the newest revision back to the autosave server, creating a new current copy, and it'll also be able to send out an email notification to an admin if you wanted to. All right, so as we move on here, the scheduled comparison is going to be driven by the autosave agent, as I mentioned in the beginning. So what's going to happen here is that a time schedule event, this is all based on how frequently you want these comparisons to run, but the agent is going to kick on, and it's going to generate a comparison from the current copy on the autosave server to the processor copy. If a change is identified, or if a difference is identified, it will email out a comparison report to an admin or a set of admins that will, within the comparison report, it'll be a web link that will put them and show them the exact details of what changed. And it's dependent on the programming software, but I have a couple examples here. You'll see a Wonderware InTouch comparison report example. So you can see we compared, in this case, we compared the current version, which was revision 13 of this program, to revision 12. So we just did a comparison there, and you can see the details that are highlighted of what changed, and even with InTouch, we can see some graphical changes there as well. And the other example is RSLogix 5000. You can see here the screenshots of the contacts being deleted and the differences from one program to the next. So these are examples of the comparison reports that are generated from the agent compares. So now we'll kind of show you from an advanced device support, when I mentioned that we have the most breadth and depth in the industry as far as device support. You can see we support robots, we support many different PLC types, HMIs, we can do CAD drawings, we can do anything. We can really, outside of just this list, we can support any configuration file, but these are the ones that we've developed specific plugins for that communicate with the programming software and allow for a little bit more advanced functionality as far as uploads, downloads, and schedule comparisons. And to continue on with the conversation of device support, we are an endorsed partner. We have an endorsed partner product that's been about 5 or 6 years in the making, and it's been on the market for that long. It actually has won 2 out of the last 5 years. It has won Partner Product of the Year for InSource. So this specific product backs up your system platform Galaxy. So for those of you on the call that have system platform, this will resonate with you, or hopefully will resonate with you. So what autosave for system platform does is it's essentially an extension of your system platform environment. It allows you now to compare versions of objects. You can identify the differences within the details of the graphics, instances, templates, any changes that occur within the Galaxy you can now identify, and you can roll back if you make a mistake, and there's a lot more flexibility within the development environment. So it extends the system platform audit trail capability. It ensures that your IP in the system is retained. So if you have contractors, system integrators that are coming in, working on the Galaxy along with other folks, then you know who's doing what within the system, and you're able to reconcile if something were to occur on top of your full CAB backups. So it just gives you a little bit more flexibility and oversight as to who's doing what. So to kind of give you a picture of what's going on here, we have the autosave server, which is the same autosave server that I explained before, which would manage your PLCs, HMIs, and other configuration files. You have your system platform, your Galaxy repository, and you have your IDE. The main difference between autosave for PLCs and HMIs and autosave for system platform is that we really just run in the background. There's an executable that's installed in the GR and is just waiting for people to make changes from the IDE and check those changes in. So when a change is checked in to the GR, that revision in the Galaxy repository actually copies over revision 1. But autosave, we pull it off to the side and we store it on the autosave server. So that incrementally over time, you're capturing every single individual change that occurs within your full Galaxy CAB backups, which is very important because if a disaster occurs or human error occurs, you may have a lot of development time that's lost if you can't roll back to a specific point in time. So with capturing every incremental change, we build a history of your system platform environment and allow you to easily roll back, run comparisons, and identify changes that are happening within the Galaxy. So to transition now over to the use case, which is a customer of ours in Australia, the Water Corporation of Australia. We had a joint project with them where we developed a specific solution, which we're calling the disconnected field client. So the background, to give you kind of an understanding of what Water Corp was looking at and what they're managing. They're based out of Perth, Australia. They manage, geographically, they manage about 1/3 of Australia, which is quite some space. They've got 300 cities and towns operating over 105 wastewater treatment plants, and they've got 16,000 plus programmable devices that all throughout different parts of their environment. So they have a ton of different types of programs. As you can see, over 750 makes and models of hardware and from over 180 different manufacturers, and the frequency of the adjustments to the different software programs, as you can imagine, was very high. So their biggest challenge was they had people that were going out to service these devices, and over time they weren't really able to keep track of all those changes, and when people would come back into the environment, they would lose versions, and there was kind of chaos going on. So what they came to us to do was develop a solution that enabled them to have an extension, because these devices were not on the network, so they couldn't access them. They would physically go out and program these devices. So they needed an extension of autosave to go out with them, with the user's laptop, and be able to manage the changes they were making. So what we did with them was we developed a solution that enabled them to track the changes to non-network devices in their treatment plants. They were able to compare the program in the processor to what's on the engineer's laptop, so before they even did any work, they were able to figure out what was going on, and then give them a historical reference that they didn't have before, and compile the information and bring all the information back to a centralized location. So what this did for them was it gave them a better inventory database within the autosave structure. It allowed them to now be able to have a single master database that everyone accessed and brought information back, and just have overall control as to what's going on out there in the field, and be able to reconcile information, and if a PLC failed somewhere, they knew where the latest version was. And you can see the quote here, which was from the general manager of planning, which states, with the implementation of autosave, Water Corp's field staff, some of them located thousands of kilometers away from Perth Metro, now have fully supported standardized change management application across all intelligent assets with access to a centralized repository for thousands of device configurations in more than 3,000 sites. So this speaks to the scalability of our software as well. There's no limit to how many devices you can manage. They're managing all these devices on one single autosave server. So it's a very, very big application, and they're a great customer of ours that speaks to the disconnected field client. So to just touch on that a little bit more and show you a little bit of how the disconnected client is working within the system before we go into the demonstration of it, I'll talk a little bit about the application here. So the first thing is the engineer logs into his laptop and connects to the server. He's going to go ahead and select the programs that he wants to work on. So out of, if you're managing 100 or 1,000 devices, and this specific person only needs to have 20 of them, then he goes down the folder structure and selects those programs that he needs to work on. And what's going to happen here is during an update, it's going to send down the version to his laptop, so he now has the latest version to go out in the field and work on. So he only needs to do that once with the program manager, and now he goes out and services the devices. So he logs in with his username and password to the autosave software. He can either work within NDT's environment, or he can work outside of it. If he works within, he's going to capture all the date and time stamp and all the information there. If he works outside of it, then those changes are still being made, and when he comes back into the environment, I'll show you in a second that those changes will be reconciled. So once he's finished doing his work, making his changes, he comes back into the office, connects back to the autosave server, and there's a two-step process. The first step is he's going to analyze. What analyze is going to do is tell us what changes were made by me and what changes were made by others. So there's two categories here. You can see on the right-hand side, we've got by me. I made a change to one program, and there were two changes made to two other programs while I was gone. So once we identify what changed with the programs that I have on my laptop, then we're going to go ahead and sync. And the sync function is going to be a bidirectional sync. So we're going to take the program changes that I made, update the server with them, and then take any changes that were made to the programs that I own from other people down to the user's laptop. So the idea here is that the bidirectional sync updates both the server and the user's laptop so that he has the latest programs as well for the next time he needs to go out and make changes. So now everything is up to date, and he moves on and does the next thing. So that's kind of the real world scenario. The architecture really doesn't change at all. The only component of the system that is now not included in the disconnected client is the agent, because there's no communication there to run scheduled operations, that kind of thing. You have the same autosave server, so it's the same backbone, it's the same system that is managing the programs. And you can also, if you have a mixed mode of you've got devices on a network and you've got devices off a network, then you can run the network client as well as the disconnected client in one environment back to one server. So you don't have to have 100% one way or the other, but this is the way that we manage those changes to devices that are off the network. So as a summary here, we've got users can manage any number of programs on a computer. The synchronization is going to sync all the file changes at one click of a button. So no longer do you have to manually check each individual program back into the server. It's done in a bulk way. The bidirectional sync updates both the laptop and the server. And as I mentioned, the scalability of this, it's been tested with over 20,000 programs. So we've yet to reach a maximum or a point where customer isn't able to manage the number of programs that they have. And we've got some technicians in this water corp situation where they're managing over 1,500 programs on their laptop. So it's a very robust solution for them, and this was developed specifically for a water authority that is being used in other water customers and other utilities as well. And also it can be used in manufacturing if you have devices off the network that are on the plant floor. So it's a very flexible situation, very flexible solution that will adapt to many different environments. So what we'll do now is we'll transition over to Gary Gillespie, who will do the demonstration, and we'll be able to show the interface a little bit more and how the communication works, and he'll be able to get into it a little further.
Gary, you have the ball, or you should.
All right. Thanks, Katie.
Oh, wait a minute. It didn't give it to you. Hold on one second. Sorry. Now you should have the ball.
All right. All right. You seeing the screen, hopefully?
Yes.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining us here today. As Alex went through the operations of the application, we have, as he was talking, we have networked functionality, and we have the non-networked or field client functionality that was added for working with WaterCorp, but is very applicable to anyone with remote or non-networked assets. So to touch on both of those, I'll start briefly with the networked operations that you've seen, and then we will spend a little more time looking at the non-network device management. What you're seeing here is the network client, the autosave client. This has all the information, as Alex went through, a completely flexible program structure, the complete revision history of each program that you're dealing with, indications here of what type of application it is. And if you want to perform an edit to, in this case is an InTouch application. If I want to do an edit to that application, I simply hit this button here. You'll see that it'll lock the application so that anyone else in the facility can see that I am performing an operation. It will then launch me into the window maker application. We're in demo mode here, and put me in an edited environment. So I can then go through this and make whatever changes I want. This is the famous reactor demo, but I can make changes as I wish to this application. We track changes to the graphical screens, the application logic, so you can go into the application database, make changes. You can make changes in the tag dictionary. So to select one of these, just make changes as you normally would using your window maker. We have quite a bit of functionality here to track that, so I can select any object that I wish to make an edit to, change values here, and so forth. And when I finish that operation, I can save and exit. In this case, I'll just, for the sake of time, I will show you the end result. So I will I'll leave that change on my local. I'll go ahead and check it in. So we'll say edits were made, and it'll check this version in. You'll notice before I check it in, we're at revision 16. When I say OK, it will zip up the latest changes, check that in, create version 17, unlock the program. There is the ability to do a comparison, so I can look at any of the changes of the current versus any of the changes in history. So if I want to compare those, or if I wish to roll back to any prior version in history, I merely can go through the interface and do that. Just to save a little bit of time, this is the result of what a compare report looks like when InTouch. It will compare the tag name database, scripts, program windows. So if I look at those details, what you will see here is information on the tag values. You'll see that we highlight the before and after values of each one that's changed. In the application logic, we will highlight the sections of the application logic that have changed and show you the parameter changes there. And with Windows, in this case, we will highlight the changes not only numerically, we'll show you the exact changes. This is with InTouch version 10.1 and beyond, but you also can open the windows in additional tabs, such as this, and then you can graphically move between the screens and see what the graphic changes are visually. So this works very well for standalone InTouch applications. As Alex mentioned, the newer versions of InTouch are leveraging system platform architecture, and so there's a merging of the system platform functionality, which we can discuss offline in more detail what that looks like. But we support both the standalone and managed InTouch environments. Similarly with other types of applications, if you're talking about a Unity program, for example, I can hit this button here and engage and launch Unity. It will put me in the Unity environment to perform an edit of Unity. I make the changes as I would and restore those just to minimize time. Similar type of thing with Unity. We leverage a Unity diff. So this is a change I made just before the presentation. And you'll see here that we bypassed a contact, and Unity diff will highlight that contact is missing in one version and shows that it was in the prior version. So change that we just made prior to that. With these applications, if there is a compare utility that exists in the editor package, we will leverage that for compare. If there isn't one, we will write our own. And as Alex said, we support a very wide range of devices and applications. Just one more edit, just for illustration purposes here, I will take a very simple file. This is a notepad application, but again, it's the same type of operation to lock the program. I'll make a change to this DNS configuration and save that. And check that back in. This happens to be a program and a set of programs that I'm watching over on the field client as well, so I'll show you how that ties in just a moment. So there are a number of other capabilities in terms of reporting in this, so you can track individual revision history, activity logs, and so forth, which we won't go into all the detail of that, but if certainly can follow on conversations and show you the detailed information about the changes. If there was ever a time when I wanted to roll back, let's say the last several changes of this application were something I want to throw away, I can go back to any point in history and restore this. So I'll say I want to restore this to what we call current, which is the latest version, and that'll move that back to the current top of the stack, and I can download that back to my device. So you get the complete history as well as the complete rollback capability with this application. So now just to move over to the field client to talk about the non-networked operations. I'm going to minimize this. I'm now outside of the virtual machine that I was running, and I'm on technically or virtually on another application, another computer. And Alex talked about the program manager. This is a one-time thing that you need to run for each user, that if you never change the area or scope of responsibility that you're managing, you don't have to go into that again. If you want to change the programs that are on your watch list, you would go into this program manager and make those changes. For the field client, I will connect to that in a disconnected state, so that is my non-networked environment. And as I drill down, you will see that certain areas are gray, which means I don't have those sections of the autosave system on my local machine. I will just drill into one of the water treatment areas that I do have checked out, and you'll see the program list that's available here. And similarly, if I have a I'll just open a couple of programs here. This is an InTouch application, and similarly, if I have the application on my workstation, again, it's the same type of thing. I can hit launch and go through the demo licensing, and it launches InTouch and puts you in your editor environment. So this works very similarly to the way the network client works, except obviously it doesn't have the networking capabilities enabled in a disconnected mode. So I'll just exit out of that and didn't make a change, so I'll leave that there. I'll also make a change to another file. This is just a simple configuration file as well. If I hit the launch button, it will put me in my my little notepad file here. I'll make another change to this. And make my changes as I normally would, save them, and when I exit, it'll ask for a comment. So I can put my comments. These comments will go back with the revision and be checked back into the autosave server. I can also put control numbers here if I wish to track my work orders there, for example, or some other type of action. And as I check this in, there's a couple of things that highlight. The applications are now in red. It indicates that this local copy has changed. I've got an indication here that the revision has been changed. If I wish to undo that, let's say I make a mistake and I just want to back up to what I left the office with, there is the undo capability, so I can hit this and it will give me the opportunity to overwrite the changes that I made. I'll just stay with those changes that I have. And you can see this is a very basic interface. I can do a compare against those changes. So if I want to do a compare before I go back to the office, I can hit this compare, and this will do a compare and show me that file has changed. So there is a difference detected here. When I click on the details, you'll see that those additional lines are in that 10th revision that are not in the prior revision of that report. So I make all my changes as I normally would. If I don't use this application, the autosave still will watch the files that are checked out and under management and can still check those changes in. But we'll follow the proper process here and close the field client. So now we go back to the office, and I then log into my autosave system through this program called a synchronizer. And what the synchronizer does is it will look at, when I click this Analyze button, it will look at every program that I have marked for management on my local laptop. It'll go to the server and compare that to every version of those programs on the server. And it will tell me that there are changes made both by me and by others. I can click this to show them, and I can see here the details of these changes. So the default operation here, default operation is already set, so this will create a new revision within autosave. For my change, it will retrieve the update to the programs in my watch list that someone else has changed. So that's my analysis. With one click of the button, I'll click that sync. It will go through the operation and check all of those changes back into the server. So you then have a capability to go back to the field client in a connected mode, or using the network client, the earlier client that I showed, and look at all of these comments and all of these changes for these programs. So now all of those changes are checked back in, and that's all I had to do. So if you have lots of changes, if you've been out on a route for several days and you don't remember those comments and everything you did, it's a single click to push all those changes back into the autosave server. So now going back over to the VM. So we're now back on the server. If I drill into go back and look at the changes that I made there and open that program. you will see that now I have a new revision that's been checked in, updates per the work order 234 that I just checked in. So I have the ability now that I'm networked and I have the complete revision history. I can also compare this against any of the versions in history. If I want to look at the changes that my electricians or engineers have been making in the field, I can compare that if I'm looking at it from a corporate standpoint as well. So that gives you that complete version history, regardless of whether or not the devices are networked or are not. As you network certain areas or you bring networking to a pump station, for example, you can add additional capability here with autosave and start using the networked functionality with the agents to do the live compares against the devices. So you have that flexibility as your automation network evolves to be able to leverage the networked functionality without having to re-implement the system. So those are the major features of the application, demonstrating both the field clients and the network client. At this point, I think I will pause and turn it back over to Alex and Katie if there are any questions.
Okay, Alex, you have the ball again.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Gary, for that. That was very good. I'll just I'll share my screen again here, and for the most part, we covered everything we wanted to. You know, we talked a lot. We covered the architecture. Gary gave a pretty in-depth presentation of both field and network clients, and gave you a good idea of what the interface looks like there. And you know, how we support different types of devices. I think at this point, Katie, if we have anybody that has questions, I believe the way we're going to work it is through the chat to Katie, and then Katie can kind of proctor those questions to us.
Yes, I actually have quite a few questions that came through. So we'll start with our first one. I have TI PLCs that are 10+ years old. Can you talk to them and auto-save something that old?
Yeah. Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, we do have some limited support for TI, depending on the editor environment that you're using. So it's certainly a question we could do a follow-up on, depending on, and actually I'm not an expert on the TIs. I know that Soft Shop is one environment that programs those. So we do have some capability there. It's probably somewhat more limited than what we have with the later packages, but let's have an offline conversation and see if we have what you need.
Okay, great. If I don't have system platform, can you still capture changes that are made? How do you do that if I have standalone InTouch on PCs?
Yeah, I think that question may have come in before I went through that demo, but if there are follow-on questions, we can certainly take those as well. Yes, we do support InTouch standalone and demonstrated that capability. So we go back to the, it's InTouch 7 something. It's a very early version, 7.1 I want to say. The graphic capabilities that you saw me demonstrate begin with InTouch 10.1 and forward in a standalone environment. So the capabilities and the way that it's handled, if you're using managed InTouch, which is kind of a system platform architecture, that's different, and we could go into that in a separate discussion. But with standalone InTouch, yes, we support all that, and if you want the graphic compares, it's 10.1 and forward.
Okay. What if a PLC technician connects directly to the PLC, not through your console, and makes a change? Do you capture that change, and can I still roll back to the earlier version if I need to?
Yeah, one of the key values of the application is being able to use our agents and the modules, the advanced modules that we have that know how to connect to the devices through the editor software and compare the logic running in the device versus what we have on file. So in a scheduled compare operation, we would detect that change had been made We give you the option of alerting on it or backing it up depending on what your business rules are. And yes, you can choose to roll back to a prior version.
Okay. Can I see who made the changes, and can I restrict who is allowed to make changes?
If you're making changes through the autosave application, then you would be able to see who made the change, what workstation, date and time, what their comments were, all of that. If someone plugs directly into the device, you wouldn't know who made the change, but you'd be able to detect that change. We have customers that run quite a range of methods of limiting direct access to devices, and we could go through those offline, but we have some customers that simply don't allow that. We have others that do, and have ways that they factor in their scanning and compare functions to account for that. But if you're going through our application, you certainly can see every activity. You can see how long they were online, what they were doing, all of that. And if you wish to limit that access, we can discuss methods that customers use to do so outside of us.
Okay. How is the product implemented?
We both have a network of system integrator partners, as well as we have our own installation team that we work with. So we do have an SI program, and for SIs that are involved can be in our program and to do that delivery. Or if a customer has a particular SI, there's ways we can work together and get them trained up to do it. Or we have our own team. If need be, if there's not a system integrator that's working with that customer.
Okay. Is there a way to support? Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. That's fine.
Okay. Is there a way to support homegrown applications?
Yeah, there are a few options. If someone has a homegrown system, we have a universal suite that can manage just file structures or folders sets associated with a homegrown application, or just a set of files you want to back up or compare and look for changes. So we have a suite of modules there that will do versioning of applications for which we don't have an advanced driver, and that can and the suite of modules varies based on the type of communication that's needed to the device. So if you're using FTP or using other networking and shares and different kinds of options that may be needed for backing up files, the Universal Suite should be able to back up and manage basically anything that runs on a computer.
That looks to be all the questions that we have for today.
Okay, well, great. We'll certainly look forward to following up with anyone else that has any other questions offline.
Great. As you can see, Alex has put up both InSource and NDT's information here. Feel free to contact us through our website at www.insource.solutions or via our phone number. You can also reach NDT at ndt-software.com. Or you can also reach InSource at communications@insourcess.com through email directly. We appreciate you guys coming out and presenting for us today, and we look forward to hearing from you again in the future.
Great.
Thanks very
much,
Katie. Thank you.
See you, everybody.